Good Friday, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Vasl. This is my second recording of the day, so you'll see the same shirt. I do not really have the effort of changing shirts, but today we have someone else, someone new. I think for those who have been following the podcast for the few months now, this is going to be the first time Sezzen is going to be joining us. And Sezzen is originally from Turkey, and Sezzen wants to talk to us a little bit about how people who live abroad have certain types of feelings and emotions that I personally resonate with. So I do not want to take much more time and floor from you, Sezzen. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what we're going to talk today?
Sure. Thank you again also having me on the podcast. And yeah, I'm originally from Turkey, but I lived in US as well, so it also adds a little bit in the sense of living abroad.
Yeah.
For the topic today, I would love to definitely discuss about the expat life, and of course, it's like a running train. We're always in hustle, and we always do something day to day basis, and then sometimes we carry emotions, sometimes we don't. But then certain things happen, and we ask ourselves, and we say, why are we doing what we're doing? Most of the time, I notice that this occurs especially in social media context. I had a colleague who I spoken 2 weeks ago. He's from Italy, and he said, "Oh, we're having a very dark summer, as I think you also noticed in Netherlands. But in Italy, my friends are all in Sicily, and they're just having a beer and enjoying the sun." And I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, but sometimes I ask myself why I'm here."
you know, the interesting part is people who come from sunny areas. This is a bit of a tangent, but it's really important to me because I come from Pakistan and it is
Hmm.
also very sunny, right? At 45 degrees, 50 degrees in certain places. But I came here for this weather because I like this weather. I've been here for
Oh,
five years now, almost 6 years in a while. 6 years next year, I think. But I like this weather. That's why I came here. I come from a very sunny place. The rain is very important to me. I really enjoy the weather here. When it was really warm in the past few days, I was not really enjoying it much. I would walk outside. I love walking. So when I walk outside, I was sweating like crazy and I was not enjoying it. Today, I was walking outside and it was fun. I was like, okay, it's raining a little bit. I'm a bit soaked. I'm not sweating. I'm really enjoying it. So I get it. It's always like, you always crave what you don't have, right? When you're here, you go like, you want to go there. But it really bothers me that people come to the Netherlands and they're like, oh, it's shitty weather. Well, what did you expect? It's like going to Scandinavia and be like, oh my God, it's raining, it's snowing. And you're like, yeah, what did you expect? It's going to
yeah,
be
that
like
is
this.
very true. But I think it really comes down to the fact that they have certain goals or certain things that they want, and they have expectations. So I don't think it's wrong to assume and say most of the time we really try to have a better work-life balance. We try to
Mm,
actually earn more money. Perhaps we want to send money to our families. Who knows, right? Not
yeah.
everybody comes from a country that's really stable. I mean, let's
Yeah.
even now consider Turkey. It's really
Mm,
crazy that the
yeah.
currency is 30 times less than
Yeah.
euro or dollar. So
Yeah.
I often hear that from like some of my Turkish friends. Oh yeah, well, it's important that we're here and we can send some back.
Yeah.
So when those type of things are more important to you, you kind of close your eyes to what the temperature is, what the season is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really different for everybody in that sense.
I agree with you. And to add something to that, I genuinely believe that there is this economical significance that we don't see. But if you go to the north, Scandinavia, it's even better financially if you work and live there. But it's worse from an emotional and a mental point of view.
Oh yeah.
Australia is amazing. A lot of people run away to Australia because they're like, it's good weather, it's amazing, and you earn a lot of money apparently supposedly there. But whenever people go there, they go like, yeah, but you don't earn enough. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a good place. That's why maybe it balances it out. While if you go to Canada, you earn a lot of money, but it's like snow all the time.
Yeah.
US is an exception because I think US has all the good
All
geography. Yeah, so but you have New York, which is a bit colder, but then you have San Francisco, which is a bit warmer, so you have
or your
everything there.
Florida.
Florida, but I don't know. I think income wise, San Francisco is the best, right? Like
Oh,
California is.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. But when we are referring to weather, indeed, New York will be kind of more like a Florida as an absolute comparison. I mean, these
yeah,
people still have warm summery Decembers. So
yeah,
I
exactly.
Yeah. So I remember there was once it was a New Year celebration, and they actually had the recording in Miami. and it was Pitbull who was singing, and the guy was sweating in in all the suits and stuff, and there are women in bikinis. It was
And
it
you're like,
was
is it,
hilarious.
you're like, this is New Year's.
Yeah, it is New Year's, and where's the snow? But yeah, but going
uh,
back, indeed, what we were discussing is it's really important where the person is coming from, and in a way how emotionally also stable they are. Of course, we're not saying everyone has to be perfect, but it is that what are some things that we value more.
hmm,
Like with my friend from Italy, he said, oh well, I kind of miss being there with them and having a beer and also having these things. But then he said, oh well, I mean, here I am now, and he has been around almost 5 years also in Netherlands. So then I said to him, well, do you remember what you really came for? He said, oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be able to have the job that I have or the money that I have now if I did not stay in Netherlands.
yeah, a lot of people in Southern Europe do complain about this. They're like, okay, yeah, we come to the north because of better opportunities. Spain, Italy, Greece, France might be an exception, but there's good weather, good food, good people till an
Mm-hmm.
extent. But they're like, there isn't jobs, like good jobs, good money is always here in the north, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK till an extent. Even from people from the east, like Bulgaria, Slovakia, Czech Republic, they also all come to the west, and this free labor thing is becoming a problem because everyone wants now to come here and no one is willing to work there. So this is becoming an issue in itself. But I do get your point. People come here for multiple different reasons. I came here for my wife, right? I came here for my wife, and now I have a little daughter. And
Oh, yes.
everyone tells me, like, "Are you happy there?" I'm like, "Of course. Why won't I be happy here? My wife is here, my daughter is here." But I would be lying if I say I don't miss my family.
Yeah,
It is what it is. My family is back home, and it's wonderful that I get to see them once a year. But I would enjoy to see them a little bit more often, and also my culture. And it is something that you always miss when you're not there. When I was in Turkey, I was really in touch with my Pakistani side. When I'm in Pakistan, you want to leave Pakistan. You want to be the cool boys. You want to be the people who speak English, right? And now you're here. You speak English 24/7. So you go like, you know what? I want to speak my own language. I'm so tired of speaking English all the time. So
yeah,
to the little one, I'm talking in my own language, and I'm enjoying it so much. And she's hating it. My wife, she's like, "Why are you talking to her in Urdu all the time? Okay, she needs to learn Dutch. She needs to learn Farsi." I'm like, "Yeah, but to me, she speaks in Urdu." And now I finally have someone in the house I can speak Urdu with because I've been missing it so much. So we do make these compromises, and human beings in general are very short-sighted species. We like to
hmm,
believe that we're long term, but we're never that long term. We always think like, you know what, right now it's better for me to go abroad and earn a little bit, and I'll think where I have to go from there. Fast
yeah.
forward, you're here for 7 years, and you're still like here. You're like, well, didn't I come here for a reason? So, what prompted you to talk about this topic? That's what interests me.
Um, I remember there was, so I'm really very, very into Reddit. I'll definitely wake up and check Reddit. I don't even check news. I check Reddit news
That's good
because
news,
people,
though.
yeah, absolutely. And but regardless, if you click on home button, and I'm also part of the expat group, sometimes to learn information or read or help someone.
Yeah.
There was a person. She said, "I moved to Spain from US. I am with my husband now, and I love his family and everything." Exactly, just like my friend from Ely said.
Yeah.
But I saw that my one of my friends is having a bachelorette party, and she's also going to get married soon. I can't make it because of certain other obligations, but I wonder if I made right decision.
Ooh. Ooh.
She already created her own family in Spain, even, which is actually something that perhaps you can help out on this, because you nicely said, "I moved to Netherlands. I like this weather. My wife says that kid would like to, should be learning Dutch, etc." So you really know, in a way, why you moved, and you are really, let's not just say integrating, but aware that you are here. So
Yeah.
you are, yeah, that's what I mean. You brought your wife, you started your family, you said, "This is where I live now. Yeah, okay, I might miss some things, but now that I have a child that I speak Urdu, this is good. I still feel a bit home." So it sets you a little bit more on why you're here. You're even
Yeah.
making podcasts, right?
Hmm.
But this person is not sure why she made such decisions,
Yeah.
and she's asking a portal, or a platform for answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you even a moment to think about that.
Yeah.
So,
It's scary. Yeah.
yeah, it's very scary that we are actually letting people outside to choose for us, that we don't even know the answers anymore. We don't sit down and think for a moment and say, "Why am I doing what am I doing?"
Yeah.
It's really, it's, I don't think it should be that difficult. Of course nobody's perfect. I'm sure I have a moment that I ask, but mostly it's hilarious that I ask like, does anybody know where this thing is? Because I don't know everything. But I would never say and question something like, hey, I don't know why I did this. Anybody has thoughts? That's just, not doing enough inner work, it sounds like, and you're just
Yeah.
want a quick answer.
Yeah, that is true. I do agree with you that you're not doing enough inner work. But I would also push back on you to ask you this, like to tell you about this example that sometimes it's also that the answer is right there, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't touch it because we can't think about it. But when
Mm-hmm.
someone else tells us, then it becomes so obvious, right? It's like when you're trying to, I'm integrating, right? So I'm learning Dutch, I'm taking classes. So this is a book. It's it's called Netherlands in Action, right? And in this there are questions, and I go like, oh, that's a very difficult question, and then I look at the back and I look at the answer, I go like, oh, that was obvious, right? So sometimes you might, when you're thinking, the answer is not clear, but when someone else tells you, it suddenly becomes very clear that, oh, that was the reason. So I do get the power of a third person's opinion. I am not advocating that you go to a portal and ask your meaningful questions. I think introspection is very, very important, but that's exactly what I meant by short-sightedness, right? You have a guy, you got engaged, or you got married, or you plan to get married, and you're like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I'll upend my life and I'm going to go there because I think this can work. And a lot of times it does end in failure. There's this show on Disney Plus that we're watching is actually about this. This girl had a very promising news journalism career. She up in her life and moved to France for this guy Philip, and then they broke up, and then she moved back, and now all of her friends and everyone is like ahead, leadership and everything, and now she's starting from scratch again in the same
Yeah.
company because she left it. So my question is, when I moved here with my for my wife, I did the same thing, right? My wife was here, already here. She said that this will only work if you move here. So I said, okay. Me being very impulsive, I moved. I'm like, you know what? I'll figure it out. Maybe
Yeah.
it's also a guy thing, maybe because we face less consequences, because of the whole patriarchy around us. That we like,
Yeah.
we can take the risk. It's fine. What's the worst that can happen? So we move. My family was completely against it, but this one thing I really liked about my mom, she did. She said, okay, before you turn 30, you're not allowed to marry her. After 30, you can. We met when we were 25, right? So she said,
Mm-hmm.
5 years, you need to be with her, manage your long distance somehow. You will get my blessing if by the age of 30 you still like her. Now, if you think about it, that sounds selfish. You're like, mom, you're being selfish and everything. But she's like, no, that 5 years, then you can think if this is going to work or not. And then you have my blessing, then no problem. And lo and behold, we managed till 30 and we got married and now we're together 10 years strong, right?
Wow.
Next year is going to be 10 years, like till know each other. We've been married for like 2. Officially, it was 2 yesterday, but it'll be 3 by the time we hit 10 years. So my question to you is, do you think these kind of interventions should be in place? And if so, who should be making those decisions for you? Not a portal.
You have a wonderful point, and you have wonderful multiple points. But the first one, I will challenge you on that one real quick with your answer, but also the book. It actually made me think about this. Um, if we are given an answer already, we will not find our ways. So if you were to figure out an answer in a Dutch book and figure it out your way, you would know where you made the mistake. You would know why it's the way it is. You're going to create your own way of understanding, which will help you next rounds. You will not look at the answers anymore.
Yes, yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. Very nice.
That's on that one. Yeah. And to answer your question, sometimes it is nice to have intervention. By the way, I wish I had your mom. Now that I think about it, that's very wonderful. She said that. I'm also recently married. I actually got married before I turned 30.
No.
But I didn't date my husband too long, and I
Yeah.
honestly have a very different sense of understanding to marriage, and
Yeah.
that's also understandable. But I think she has a great idea because it takes indeed a while to get to know someone, question things, and say, "Hey, is this the right thing for me?" Do I know the person well? Right? Indeed,
Yeah.
situation changes. Not everything is so nice. There's
Yeah.
honeymoon phase. I completely understand her. It's nice,
Yeah.
but it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah. Definitely.
So maybe as she has her own points because she knows the culture, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she has certain concerns and she thinks that it's good to know people, which is, by the way, really respect. I think it's the same with the Indian culture and same with the certain culture. I think this is something very nice. In a way, I think it's still called, or in Old West, it was called courtship. So you were courting a woman for a while, families would know each other, remember? And then
Hmm.
they would be married later on.
Yeah.
I wish we continued that, but
Hmm.
we did not. Now, indeed, certain cultures do it,
Yeah.
but I could see the benefit. I think let's just say that your mother's suggestion is very thoughtful and very caring. So, but in other cultures that may not work. It doesn't work out on me. So that is because my parents have a very different understanding of like how I am, and they really relied on my sense of decision making
Yeah.
from a very young age.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is as ridiculous as I cried to my parents once. I had a very low grade, like a C minus, on something ridiculous as physics lab. Can
Yeah.
you imagine a lab? And C minus, I failed the class. C, I would pass.
Oh
And that's
wow.
a 4 point difference. And I was so angry and I needed to repeat. And I was so sure my parents will be so mad at me. And they said, yeah, it's just a lab class. I'm sure you're going to be fine. You've done many of these things before. You know how to work, how things work. You're going to be fine. And I was so mad. I said, how about you guys yell at me once and say that I failed? This is really wrong. I said,
So you're one of those kids, basically, the ones who have figured everything out. So the parents are like, "You don't need parenting. You got
no,
this."
that's exactly what happened. And I'll
Yeah.
be honest to you, Ahad, when I was married, my husband had a conversation with my dad, and
Yeah.
my dad said, do you guys both respect each other? And we said, yeah. Do you guys love each other? Yeah. Why would we do otherwise?
Yeah.
Then you don't need my further blessing. You're good to go. I don't see. I mean, what can I do? You guys are adult, he said.
Yeah.
Congrats. And
I
he left it,
resonate.
left it there.
I do resonate with your father. That's exactly how I also would want to deal with my daughter. My wife also says, "No, I'm gonna do like a background check and everything," and I'm like, "No, if we raise her right,
Yeah,
we should respect the decision she makes. Whatever decision she is, she would be an adult by then." But yeah, that's the that's the murky part, right? Like what defines an
absolutely.
adult and what defines the decision that you're gonna make. So, for example, you got married, your parents are happy with it. Assume you were planning to move to the Netherlands and your parents are happy with it. You're an adult, you have figured your shit out, you want to move, but now you're getting second thoughts, right? Now you're like, I'm feeling FOMO, and my friend is getting married back in Turkey, and I'm not really enjoying it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Then what would your parents say?
The nice difference is I don't make such sentences for some reason. I even have social media just to follow a bread recipe, a very random like clothing arrangement, you name it, like those bridal colors just to
Yeah,
see what's
I
up there.
thought this was your case because we discussed this conversation on
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah,
WhatsApp
yeah, yeah.
chat.
And
But
but sometimes it is true, it could be also that I sometimes feel, oh, well, yeah, it looks really nice, that there's Thanksgiving, for instance, happening, and it took me
mm,
3 years to
mm,
realize, okay, in Europe I will not be able to find everything. I'm not going to have my same setup that I had with
mm,
Thanksgiving, with setting everything up, getting everything, 4 hours in advance, you name it, because now the setting has completely changed, everything has changed. And I was
yeah.
a little bit kind of missing when people are like, yeah, here's happy Thanksgiving, here are the cookies and whatnot. And I was like, I used to make those. So it's a
Ah,
little bit different to me in that sense, but still, I think you're right. A little bit resonates because there is something that I'm still missing.
yeah,
But with me, the different part is the fact that I say this to myself all the time. Look, you made a decision. You made a decision because you felt that this was right for you. You don't
yeah,
expect every place to provide everything for you,
yeah,
but there will be substitutes. So I try to remind myself every single time. And
yeah.
what does it come down to? Going to Belgium to get a pumpkin pie sauce, going all the way to Arnhem for cranberry sauce at this point, talking to
Wow.
the slager, the butcher, for turkey pieces. This is what
I
it
I
comes down
I
to.
I am self-inviting myself to your Thanksgiving party because if you're putting so much effort in, I want to see it happen.
Sure,
So it's
sounds
gonna be
good
good.
to me.
So
But
basically,
hobby was
you
good.
lived in the States for a long time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But but you're right. It is really the topic, and somehow I am still influenced, but incredibly differently in that sense.
Mm.
But you cannot run away. I think it's in everybody. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's also not the fact that you might not need to go to a portal, but every decision is a trade-off. And I do like your opinion and your thinking that, look, like Sezzen, you made a decision.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it's your decision.
yeah.
Like how I think about this is children, for example.
Oh,
I'm handling this supposedly well, according to my wife. And everyone around me, they go like, "You're handling it pretty well, aren't you? Sleepy and all of that stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Well, relatively less, but yes, I am because she's a
mm-hmm.
relatively calm baby." They're like, "Yeah, but how are you handling it?" I'm like, "I'm handling it pretty well. Why shouldn't I?" And they're like,
Yeah,
"What does that mean?" I'm like, "I chose to have a baby. So I knew what was going to happen. I knew
yeah.
that my sleep will be compromised. I knew that I will be running around changing diapers all the time. I knew that my freedom will be compromised. I know I won't be meeting adults for a long time. I knew all of those decisions beforehand. That's like, I knew that would happen. So now suddenly having a kid and then go like, oh my God, my life has turned upside down. I don't understand that. I'm like, it is supposed to turn upside down. That's that because you're making the decision. If you and thankfully, it is not like you're going to a Mars to live or something. This is something a lot of people around you are already doing. So
Mm-hmm.
you already have examples around you to learn from. So with all of that information, yet it surprises me how surprised people get when you go like, yeah, like, but this is how it's supposed to be. Why would I be annoyed at something that was supposed to happen? It's like me getting annoyed at Holland being a rainy country, right? I know this was gonna happen, so why
Yeah,
would I
yeah,
get annoyed by it?
yeah, that is true. But maybe it comes down to two things. One is that expectations, because
Hmm.
sometimes indeed we get carried away. We see those little cute kids on social media and being so nice and hugging mommy and daddy and not being able to pronounce words right. They sound hilarious. And then you can watch later. There's specifically one for happiness. Kid cannot pronounce it correctly. I'll leave it off to you for the. Yeah,
Ah,
it sounds completely wrong and different instead, and it's
wow.
hilarious. But you get influenced a little bit, so
Yeah.
that could be it. And then you're not really part of the reality of what it really takes, or
Hmm.
sometimes it's pressure in certain
Yeah.
cultures. There's certain amount of pressure and there's expectation, so it's no
Yeah.
longer about if you feel ready, but it's more about, hey, my parents expect us, we've been married for 2 3 years, they
Yeah.
keep asking when are we going to have grandchildren, when are we going to have the grandchildren, they
Yeah.
keep coming
Yeah.
to you. So yeah, in that sense, having a child and you don't know it takes that much because you were not prepared in the first
That
place.
definitely true. That I agree with. I'm not speaking for people who were coerced in any way. Speaking for people who chose to have a decision. But that's the crux of the problem. Do you really think you had a decision or not? Right.
Hmm.
So we're in our 30s and we're like, okay, we need to have a kid. And I'm like, no, but do we want to have a kid? No, it's like we need to have a kid. Like the biological clock is running out, and everyone around us is having kids. So it's just let's just go for it. So
Hmm.
that did go into our decision making, but
Hmm.
even with that, it was still a decision we made, right?
Yeah.
So that for me, the biggest problem about decision making, and this goes back to the initial conversation we were having about the portal and the lady who was regretting her decision to move to Spain. We don't like to own the fact that we made the decisions. We always like to blame circumstances,
Hmm.
situations, and not blame ourselves that okay, it was a decision and it's fine. Like for example, you came here, you missed Thanksgiving, you married a person, and I'm really hoping and I know that you're happy, but
Oh,
for argument's sake you're not happy, right? And your parents did not butt in, right? They were like, hey, Sezzen, you're an adult, you
yeah,
should you
yeah, yeah,
should
yeah,
you
yeah,
but that's fine. I messed up. I thought this guy was going to be the love of my life. I thought this girl was going to be the love of my life, right?
yeah,
And it didn't turn out to be. Maybe she was completely different than I am. I traveled halfway across the country for her, and she turned out to be a very different person after we started living together. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Restart, reset, and renew. Move on to something else. But society punishes you for doing that. Society punishes you for accepting that you're wrong. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
boggles me the most, right? If you say, well, it didn't work out for me. I moved to the Netherlands for more money and everything, and now I missed Italy, so I'm back. Besides your family, no one else will look at it positively. They'll all be like, oh, you couldn't handle it, oh, it wasn't fun, oh, you couldn't really do this, oh, you've left a high paying job to come back home, there must be some more reason. No, there's a reason. I did not like it. I made a wrong decision. I came back. Very simple. but it's very difficult for people to celebrate that. We should be celebrating failures. We should be celebrating no new information. I am a data guy, right? So for me, life is very simple. You have a certain decision and you have certain information you need to make that decision. It will
Yeah.
never be perfect. You will never have
Yeah.
perfect information, but you will have enough. And when, in light of new evidence, you change your mind about something, that's fine. Why is that a problem? Why am I suddenly a flip flopper? Oh, you were first talking about flat Earth, and now you're talking about a round Earth. Yeah, well, new evidence. So I
Yeah.
have to update my beliefs.
That is actually a very good point, and I completely and wholeheartedly agree with you. Everything happens for a reason. So you marry the person, things can change. It's a human nature. People can grow with each other. People can get worse with each other. It's up to them to be able to come out of something, but we are not those people. So we shouldn't be really judging, right? I'm
Yeah,
not Ahad, you're not Sezzen, I'm not your
yeah,
wife, you're not
yeah,
my husband, for instance. We're
yeah,
completely different people,
yeah,
completely different expectations.
yeah,
Something can happen, one of us can lose a job, or
yeah,
one of us can find out we cannot have kids.
mm,
We are the ones who have to work on it and say, hey, let's work on this together. If you turn your back, or if I turn my back to the situation, then okay, we cannot continue anymore
yeah.
and we have to leave. Simple as that.
Simple as that, right?
But you're right. Society is more obsessed with. Well. You should have worked harder. He should have done this. Oh, there must be somebody else. Oh, there must be this. It is not your business.
Even if it is not, why is it not okay for me to fail?
Yeah,
I failed. It maybe it was not her fault, maybe it was my fault, maybe I'm a man baby, right? Maybe I lived in Pakistan my whole life, my mom did everything for me, I've barely done laundry, to be really honest, all right? I've barely done laundry since I moved here, all right? And that's a fact. I cannot deny that fact because that's how we were raised in Pakistan. But thankfully I was in Turkey for 4 years where I learned that okay, I need to be on my own. So when I moved here, the transition was not that big. But imagine it was, if it was, right? That could be a reason for our breakup because she'd be like, you know what, I thought that was cute at first, but I'm not your servant. You need to really get your shit together. And I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, but I do have my shit together. I have a job. That's what men do. They have a job,
yeah,
right? And that's
yeah,
it. That's the extent of my contribution to this household. And you can have a lot of problems. And you go back and you realize, hey, I made a mistake. I was too
yeah,
rigid. But that saying it out loud, it's, as I said, going back to the conversation again of the Reddit thing, it's very difficult to say it out loud. So it's nice to just hear it from other people that, oh, did you make a mistake? Or like, oh, well, it's could be something else. It could be this. It maybe the person is
yeah.
not the right for you, etc., etc. It could be multiple different things.
And we don't always tell everything, do we? So maybe when you and I are hanging out and your wife is complaining and saying, yeah, but Ahad, indeed, you're just doing your job and you're coming back home and expecting dinner by 7. Maybe we are hanging out and you're saying, oh, I even help her out in dinner. I even massage her feet when she's done, and nothing is enough for her. Maybe that's what you're telling us. Maybe, of course, it's not, but there are some people who don't really tell the truth.
Yeah.
And then things just change and you're like, whoa, what happened all of a sudden?
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That's also
That can
true.
happen. So if we go back to the topic of FOMO, because we talked about a lot of different things about
Yeah.
expats and how they are feeling it, and we did a little bit of digression here and there, and I lost my light twice. But
Yeah, I noticed something was flickering.
so to go back to the conversation that we were having, as a
Mhm.
person who has FOMO due to social media, you told me you do not use much social media, right? So what would be like you only have breads, chefs, and fashion on your social media. What
Yeah.
would be your advice to people who do use a lot of social media so that they can better handle this FOMO? If you had FOMO, how would you handle it?
Yeah. One thing I definitely have and I look religiously is LinkedIn.
Why?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. But maybe that will be the FOMO area for me, I guess. Because career is something that I really care about and focus
Mm,
on. And
yeah.
remember, I've also once talked to you how a colleague of mine had a very nice success and nobody in the same group or like within the same class really said something nice, but instead tried to reduce it. So that's why I was saying, okay, what is going on? Why is social media used and such? So I do have also some interesting, like Reddits and LinkedIn's rather than Instagrams and Facebooks. It's completely different with me. I don't know what it is. Um, People who have FOMO, I would just say, really, indeed, go back to yourself and ask the reasons of, it's not about coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's about this is what you chose. These were your reasons. If it no longer works out, just clock out and leave. It's okay. We can make mistakes. Things don't have to work out. Paris is not the best place ever, as Emily describes, right?
Oh
Emily in
my,
Paris. You know how it is.
I hate it. I
How
hate that
many
city.
people I wonder how many people influenced moving to Paris, especially from US. You should see it. If you go to Paris, Jesus Christ, like you're gonna see so many American people and like
Hmm.
who knows what, right? And not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just not a good true influence. Or
Yeah.
same with what was that movie? Eat, Pray, and Love.
Oh, what was it about?
Remember with Julia Roberts? She was kind of trying to find herself, and I think she moved to Italy and then she kept traveling, etc. Something along the lines. I watched it so long ago, and I was like, okay. So it's like influencing people to do
Yeah.
things when they are maybe they're not ready. So the
Yeah.
idea is do things when you feel ready,
Yeah.
and do it at not a quick whim, as you say.
Mm,
More
yeah.
like ask yourself, is this something you're ready? Is this something you can do? Baby steps will help us more
Mm,
than rushing out making hasty decisions, especially in today's economy is how I will call it. You know, given the fact we had COVID, now there's war, now there's inflation,
yeah.
you don't want to make decisions without thinking 10 times.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying, and I do hear a lot of introspection in your thought process, and that's great. But maybe you're the lucky one, right? A lot of people do not really introspect; they retrospect, right? They go like, okay, after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
did I make the right decision or not? Because in the moment, in the heat of the moment, as I said, we're a very short-sighted species,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter how much we want to say that, oh, we have a big brain and we make decisions about thinking it, I myself have really good stories of trying to justify eating a whole pint of ice cream because I'm a rational person. And my wife really hates it. She's like, and she doesn't even stop me anymore. She says, I'm like, I'm in the mood to eat some junk. She's like, you're not supposed to eat junk. I'm like, well, if you look at my calculation, she's like, I'm not listening. I know you're going to try to justify it. There is no point. And I'm like, but if you think about it, I did do this, I did do that. I walked so much and I did this exercise and I didn't eat for the past 5 days. She's like, doesn't matter. You're justifying, you're rationalizing. There is no point. You can go eat it if you want. I can't stop you anyways. So the problem with this line of thinking is that it's very easy to rationalize and justify it, right? Like, oh, Spain's going to be wonderful. Malaga is great. And
Yeah,
the guy loves me and the guy earns money. What's the worst that can happen? Maybe I'll get a little bit homesick. I can manage. It's right there, just a flight
yeah,
away. And then suddenly life happens. And you go like,
yeah.
ooh, and that happened to me this year because when I moved here, I think we talked about this before we were having this call, that on the phone, that and when I moved here to the Netherlands, I was
Yeah.
very content with my online life. I was very
Mm-hmm.
content with playing games with my guy friends back home, and we have like, we're the same group of guys of like 10 15 people, but we have
Mm-hmm.
like six different WhatsApp groups. Every WhatsApp group is a different topic. We're very like, we're very strict. We actually have a moderator. We call him
Oh
Hitler.
wow.
Very unapologetically, we call him Hitler because he's like the moderator, and he kicks people out of the groups if he doesn't, if we're not right talking about the right topic. So if you want to talk cricket, you should be in the cricket group. If you want to talk about football, you should be in the football group. Because we're the same people, conversations drift out and they get annoyed because they're like, we're not part of this conversation, stay in that group please. So there's this one group called general group, and this is like the staging group, right? Okay, conversation starts here and then it has to be directed to the appropriate group. So a lot of times people get kicked out of that group because they don't get the message. He sends out a warning. He's saying, you know what, you need to move to this group now
Yeah.
or else you're kicked out. And they go like, oh, we're having a conversation here. Nevertheless, this is my online group. You can see it's pretty active, like Reddit, so it feels like it's like a community. But 3 years I've been with this community
Mm-hmm.
online all the time, playing games with them. We would have monthly mobile game competitions, Among Us, Monopoly, all of that stuff, playing on my phone all the time. My wife said, do you even have a real friend here in the Netherlands? I said, well, I don't need friends. And she's like, what do you mean you don't need friends? I'm like, I have my guy friends back in Pakistan. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not? But then something happened. My friend got married, and
Mm-hmm.
then suddenly there was radio silence. Everyone was there enjoying that whole month. They all got together, so they were not online, right? They were not there physically. They were there physically, so they were not really online much. I wasn't getting much taste of it. A friend of mine was in Turkey. He wasn't getting much taste of it except for the photos and the videos, but we were not involved. Then it hit me that, oh, this is what life is. that I will always be secondary because they're physically there with each other, that's priority number one. And yes, they respect me enough to entertain me every now and then. They even called me from the wedding to be like, hey, if you want to look at the wedding, but it's never going to be the same, right? So you have
No.
to make the choice of understanding that yes, you are an expat, you moved countries, you are taking on a big challenge, but you are making a trade-off. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, you are choosing something or the other. And you want to say it as romantically as you can, that oh, I love my country, or I love my family, or I love this, or no, I'm only here temporarily. But you are here, you made that decision, own it,
Absolutely.
accept it, and then do something about it. So that's what I did. I met you on a philosophy meetup because I was like, you know
Yeah.
what, I told my wife that, you know what, I need to move, I need to do something, I need to meet people, because now I'm realizing it. And yeah, so that's my story of how I felt FOMO. So you also felt it through Thanksgiving, but have you ever
That was
had any other?
I
Has there
even
been?
cried after. Aha, it was that bad. That was a big deal to me. It was always a big deal to
Oh,
me.
wow.
I always took a half a day off from work, like even a day in advance sometimes, to make sure I have my sauces ready, butter ready, everything is ready, solved, you name it. You name it. I would start cooking from 11 in the morning until 5 to make
Oh,
sure everything is ready. And I wouldn't let anybody in the kitchen, not even my mom. And quite the opposite, my mom was not allowed because she would try to turn it into non-American food, and I always told her, "That's not how you cut things." No, that's the right one. That's the
would
wrong
she make
order.
it Turkish? Would she make everything
She
Turkish?
would just, she was so confused. She's like, "Why would you do it this way? Why is it this order?" I said, "Mom, I'll explain another time. Forget about it. You're welcome to sit inside and watch a show or something. I'll get everything on. Don't
Right.
worry." It was hilarious. It was in a way very funny that one time I get to be the boss in the kitchen, not her.
Oh,
And
very
first
nice.
time she wouldn't know how something is being made. For example,
Yeah.
a pumpkin pie. And she was so confused on why I would do the way I do. And why is there condensed milk used? Why are we putting it such order? It was hilarious. And it gave me odd satisfaction too, because first time my mom is not right about something.
I think there's more to Thanksgiving than just the dinner, says, and that's what I'm hearing.
Maybe that's what I'm missing. I'm missing an interaction in the sense that, okay, I need to
Eh,
tell someone that they're not the boss. But you do have one good point, and that is going back on your example also, that we just need to be, as we said, be aware of the fact that we are here. This is also a blessing. We are missing things, also we are missing out by not
yeah,
being here. That's another angle. When
yeah,
you're not here, you don't get to meet people. If you never came to the philosophy group, I wouldn't know who you are.
yeah,
If I never come, I would have not met any of those people, not have any interactions whatsoever. So that is really something that is very crucial, and not a lot of people are noticing. Just be where you are, stand where you are. In a way, it's gonna sound a bit crazy, but do it internally. And I say, I'm looking at Ahad right now. I'm sitting in this room. I'm having this conversation. Make sure you are really here in this moment and don't miss it.
yeah.
That's
Make sure
really
you're
what it.
present. Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah,
wonderful advice. People forget to be present in
yeah,
things. You're absent in things. Even when you want to go out for meetups and everything, you feel like you're half-assing it, right? You're like, okay, I'm here, but I
yeah,
don't know if it's good or
yeah,
not. I want to
yeah,
see about, but you need to be present, and people feel that genuine presence. When you are there and you're giving your 100%, the other
yeah.
person feels it. But when you're half-assing it, the other person feels it, and that's why you be like, I tried my best, but I couldn't make friends. That was my excuse for the past 3 years. I was like, I tried my best, but I'm not making friends. And my wife is like, you're not trying your best. I know you. You can make friends easily, but you're not. And I'm like, no, I am trying my best. I go to the people, I talk to them, and I'm still learning. Yesterday was a wonderful story. I met this guy, Dutch Indian, at an ice cream parlor here
Mm-hmm.
in Stripes, and he looked at my little one. He complimented her. He asked me my name, asked me her name. So he striked up the conversation. Kudos to him.
Mm-hmm.
I would never do it again. A problem with me, but he did it. So I replied to him. He was a very nice guy. He's into video business, and we talked. We had fun. Me, him, my wife. We were all talking and everything. And then we were about to leave with our ice cream. I said it was fun catching up with you. Talk to you later. Bye. He said bye, and then I left. And my wife goes like, so you said you're gonna catch up with him, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, how are you gonna catch up with him?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, did you take his number? I'm like, we guys don't share numbers. It's like if Kismet allows us, we're gonna meet again. So she's like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, son of, this is how it works. Okay, this is how guys work. Because my other friend group is the same, a Pakistani group, couple, and me and the guy met 3 times. Never shared our phone number or anything, just randomly touching into each other in places. The wife and my wife met for the first time. They exchanged numbers, and through them we met for a double date. And we were like, "Hey, it's you again!" And they were like, "You guys know each other, but you never exchange your numbers." And I'm like, "Guys don't do that. I don't know how this works. This is a new world for me." So yeah, you're
I
learning.
I believe in you. Yeah, and I'm not surprised. I'm your team wife. I was so surprised moment you said catch you later, and I said he did not mention a word of sorry. He did not mention a word of I got his number and then we chat or anything. And then she asked the same thing. I said, okay, that's out of the picture. But it doesn't surprise me when you say it's a guy thing because my husband did that one time. I went to my colleague's birthday and he sat down and talked to an old gentleman for 3 hours. Like I could have fallen down, I could have tripped, anything could have happened. My husband wouldn't see it. Obsessed with the conversation with this old man, non-stop. It's like they're dating. It's ridiculous. So nice going, full attention, you name it. And we were about to leave, and then I said, "Hey, how was the conversation?" "Oh, very nice, actually, very very good. All the good stuff." "So when are you gonna see him again?" What seeing him again? You just had a good conversation for 3 hours with this guy. Yeah, that's okay. I said, I'm not gonna sit down 3 hours with a person with no phone number or nothing. Why was I
I
sitting there for 3 hours in the first place?
I understand
Yeah,
your
well,
husband.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Then he says this, which kills me completely, and I was out. I really exited the chat at that moment. He said, "Well, something should be left that way. It's a good memory to remember."
Oh, that's.
What?
I'm stealing that. That's a wonderful line to use. It's about throwing positivity into the world, says, and that's what me and your husband are talking about. It's about leaving stuff half-assed so that you have a reason to live. You have a reason to make it full afterwards. I love that. I love that line so much.
The worst part was, remember the meme of the blonde lady with the blonde hair and having all the mathematical equations in the back of the head? Remember
That
that
was.
meme? I was driving us together, and I was supposedly driving. Thank God nothing bad happened. That meme was in front of my face the whole time, trying to decipher what he just said to me. I can't fight that sentence. I want to fight, but it doesn't make any sense because he made up his mind.
Oh my! I would love to meet
So,
your husband.
yeah, yeah, and he's my husband. What am I supposed to say to this guy now?
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful story, though. That's exactly the problem. It's a guy thing. I genuinely think it's a guy thing, and society's made us in this way that it's awkward to ask for numbers and reach out and everything. And mostly people here in the expat group, the people that reach out to me or I reach out to are mostly again girls because it feels a bit more comfortable. When I try to reach out to guys, it feels uncomfortable, and if I do reach out to them, a lot of them do say no, and I'm like, okay, I'm not reaching out to
I'm
you
not
again
doing it again.
anymore.
Yeah. I'm not
you
doing this
know
again anymore. I'm out. I'm out.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm out. One of the guys is the one still in contact with, the one who I do the podcast with, Phil. I don't know if you met Phil.
I don't.
He comes to this philosophy group as well sometimes, but he's more into improv. Now, him and I are in contact, but again, you message him, he's gone for days, and then he replies after days, and that's, I don't know why, but that also bothers me a lot because WhatsApp is instant messaging.
Yeah.
Reply, for God's sake. But when you reply to a woman, generally in my experience, you reply pretty fast, and of course my guy's back home pretty fast. So do you get it? Like, I am revolved, and I hover around people who are a bit like me, reply a bit faster, are they're active, and those who are a bit playing a bit hard to get, I'm like, it's not worth the effort. It's just
Oh,
just
I
just let-
understand. But
just
it's
leave.
funny because you feel that way, and I'm other way around with men. It is so easy for me to talk to men. It's like effortless. I don't get any offense. Oh,
Yeah.
he responded me late. Fine. He
Yeah.
says this. Fine. But with women, it's a struggle with me. It's very other way around. So in case, as you mentioned, going back also on the topic, if we feel something and we want to share, sometimes we want to kind of talk to who might feel close to us. A man may not exactly have the same feeling, but a woman might. It's
Yeah.
not easy to discuss. So
Yeah.
now that you're also thinking back with the whole deal with Reddit in the platform, maybe she couldn't find someone she could talk to. Maybe she could
Yeah.
not find anybody who can understand, and she decided to ask on a platform. I'm
Yeah.
in a way being devil's advocate to myself here, but it
Yeah.
is kind of the true thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have your own criteria when you just said, "I don't want to deal with someone who cannot answer quickly." To me, I don't think I can easily connect to a woman if she's not understanding what I'm saying. And I studied
Yeah,
engineering, so talking to men is easiest for me. And
yeah,
I don't necessarily always have, let's say, same emotional understanding, or like, let's say, same emotional intelligence even, right?
yeah,
Let's say I'm a bit more colder perhaps to certain things, or I'm a bit too rational to certain things because of engineering, you name it, right? Too many things are sometimes too black and white, or to me, yeah, you came to a country for a reason, stay or not, like and then a person might be like, what is she talking about? This is not how it
it's
works.
not supposed to be this easy. There's
Yeah,
this
yeah. But I get exactly what you mean. So when you have that clash, also, it makes it more difficult, and you cannot express yourself.
yeah,
Ergo, it makes the FOMO even a bit more worse.
yeah, I
So,
think so as well. I think so. And I think you really had a good point about I think it was about the Reddit point, the platform, right?
hmm,
What I've also noticed, this is something my friend really excelled at. Sometimes people want to share with random people because of no judgment, rather
yes,
than sharing it with their own people because of judgment.
yeah,
So we do not want to be judged. So therefore, we go to random people. And now, of course, in your small neighborhood in Spain, where are you going to find random people that can connect to you? If
yeah,
you're in an expat group, probably all the expats know each other. So
yeah,
it's a bit of a risk. Even here in Eindhoven, I go to most groups and I see mostly the same people sometimes because I'm like, okay, it's the same expat group that is trying to find friends because the Dutch people are not here. They have their own friends and family in their
yeah,
life. So it's mostly the same people every now and then. So you realize that, yeah, a platform is safer. I can be anonymous, even if I don't want to be anonymous. I have random people around me who can give me advice or you can just hear me out, and
yeah,
that helps. Sometimes that helps, but then again goes back to, I think we both resonate in this concept about of our analytical thinking, that I go like, why have a society or why have a kind of an environment around you where you can't be open, why it has to
absolutely.
be judgmental, right? And I don't know the answer to that.
That
It's
could be
human
even a
nature.
topic for even another time, but that is really, it all goes back to how does even FOMO start? So, or does society have any influence even, right? That is so
Mm,
true. I completely agree with you on the fact that if you come from a small environment, or if you have a certain expats group, people know your word goes out, you name it, right? You can no longer feel
yeah,
comfortable discussing something because, yeah, maybe Ahad asked a question and I'm like, did you hear what Ahad wrote last time? I cannot believe he's doing this. Hey, did you hear it? And it just goes around, around, and around, and
yeah,
somebody has a different idea or feeling of how you're feeling. Next thing
exactly.
you know, you become a topic, or somebody hears it
Exactly. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
you.
And that is exactly why I don't like to ask for numbers, because people can gossip like this. Oh my God, did you see he asked for the number? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not asking for numbers again. Do you get it? It comes from somewhere. It does come from somewhere. But this was wonderful, Sezzen. I had a really, really good
Yeah,
time.
like,
Do you want to add something before we close? Is there any other topic in your mind about FOMO or social media that you want to touch upon?
just the last thing is, indeed, it's that small things that we do. We should never just say ourselves, oh, that's so simple, I don't want to do it. Sit down and write down why you're here, what you're doing, what you want to do. Baby steps is going to save us, definitely. Then we will be more present. As we both agreed,
Hmm.
being present this moment is going to help us cherish the memory, makes us more alert. That's what I would really say.
No, I think those are very well said words. Problem that I mostly see people having is that we're not really mindful or aware of the decisions we're making or the actions we're doing. We really like to numb it out, right? We numb it out
Yeah,
not just with alcohol or parties. We numb it out by being distracted 24/7,
yeah,
by always having Netflix on in the background, or
yeah,
always having music in our ears, or always phone and tapping anyone who can
yeah,
be
yeah,
near
yeah.
us. It's always there. What I started doing recently, because of my little daughter, because you have to get up at 6 in the morning to feed her. So I get up in the morning, and from 6 to 9:30 or 9ish, my phone is locked, and then it's just me and her, and she falls asleep after a while. So it's just me, and then I have time to do stuff like read a book, or think with my thoughts, or stretch a little bit, look outside. And I'm not joking, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It is a game changer, because I am quite addicted to my phone. I in this podcast I've mentioned it, that I my app told me that I pick up my phone 144 times a day. It's that much. Yes, I am really, really used to my phone, and I don't even have social media on my phone. So imagine, what do I do when I open up my phone. It's nothing. It's just
Oof.
opening WhatsApp again and again, thinking that WhatsApp will refresh, which it doesn't. It will tell me if there's a message, but for some reason, I just keep opening WhatsApp, keep opening Outlook, and to see if I got a new mail, to see if I got a new WhatsApp. But in the morning, gone. Mind is clear, and it really makes you aware and alert of why you're doing what you're doing. And I
Yeah.
think that is very important, no matter what you're facing. Could it be FOMO? Could it be a happy marriage? Could it be a new baby? It could be making new friends.
Yeah.
Thinking about messaging that guy or not. When I got his phone number, my wife was like, "So when are you messaging him?" I'm like, "Won't it look too like needy if I message him already? Shouldn't I wait a day or something?" And she's like, "Just message him." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I messaged him. So don't overthink.
Yeah.
Have that introspection so that you don't really overthink.
That's really nice. Really. And I'm
Great.
also proud of you. You
Nah,
messaged the guy.
I messaged a guy and I messaged another guy two times and he hasn't replied to me yet. So I feel like I'm also getting a bit annoying in that sense, right? I'm a guy who will just all the time message people, be like, "Hey, you're not replying to me anymore. Hello, are you there yet?" So that's also going to
Oh,
be interesting. But anyways, this was amazing, Sezzen. I really had
it was
fun,
really
and
nice.
we are drawing it to a close. So I would like to thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you as well. It was very nice. It was
Yes,
very, very talk to you.
yes, and thank you everyone else who tuned in to listen. I hope you had fun, and I hope you also picked up on a little bit of what we were trying to say. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.